Anthony Slater may know about that. Anthony Slater, our 95.7 The Game insider, probably on the bender in New Orleans. I don't even know if he made the trip to the Smoothie King Center. What's up, Anthony?
I didn't make it. This was a perfect one to take off.
What? You don't like Nolans?
I don't mind it, but on the second night of a back-to-back, right before the playoffs,
Yeah. San Antonio, New Orleans, tough little back-to-back. San Antonio, you probably wanted to sleep through.
Save that sound.
I know the Warriors are still out there. I think they're having some fun for JTA's birthday yesterday down in New Orleans, and then they'll come back to the Bay Area a little later today, get ready for practice. So, Anthony, it's on now. But let's start with the season in review. It was a turbulent season. Draymond misses 36 games. Clay misses 50. Steph misses 18. You had Iguodala out damn near all the entire season. You did have Otto Porter Jr. playing up back-to-backs. If you had to grade and assess this regular season for the Warriors, in which they won 50 games for the seventh time in 9 years, what would your grade be? How would you assess this regular season for the Dubs?
I mean, if I had to give a grade, I guess like A-, B+. It was an odd way to get there, but they're, I believe, third best record, right? What did Miami finish with?
Third best record in the NBA.
Yeah, that's stunning.
I think Miami was trying to avoid the play-in, if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
they're the top seed in the East. So.
I know, but they were trying to avoid what's it called?
Brooklyn.
Yes,
but if
that's
Brooklyn
what they were trying to do. I think
if Brooklyn loses to Cleveland,
I know. Then they're back there. I know. They're back where they're at. So I don't know.
Continue, Anthony.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I mean, look. I think they played it conservative with Clay and didn't bring him back till early January. No Wiseman. Draymond misses 2.5 months. Steph misses the final 12 games. They played the rookies a ton, probably more than anybody expected, particularly Kuminga. And they won the third most games in the league. I mean, there were turbulent times, as you mentioned, but I think all in all, you grew the rookies. You found a potential star in Jordan Poole, which is crazy to say.
Right.
The Wiseman part of it is like probably why you can't grade it in the A category. But in general, I think they're going into the playoffs with a legit chance to contend for a title. And we didn't know that was the case entering the season.
I'm looking at you referenced Jordan Poole, so let's move to Clay, because I think Clay is probably the second biggest, if not the biggest story of the final month of the season. I mean, these last 6 games have been outstanding. I mean, there were times I just foolishly doubted him throughout. It looked clunky. He looked like he didn't have his legs, and I was worried that he wouldn't get it back this year. Are you as surprised as I am that he has turned it around so quickly, and now he looks like he looks like vintage Clay?
Yeah, he's just early on in his comeback, it was like 1 out of every 6 games. Suddenly, he arrived at the arena and he was bouncy and he was hitting jumpers and he got hot. Now it feels like it was like 1 every 3 games recently. The last 3, it's been every game. I'm sure he's still going to be streaky. You guys know how it works as you get older, in particular when you have bad leg injuries, where some days you just wake up and through no fault of anybody, like your legs are stiffer. Like I don't expect him to just torch through the playoffs, but he does. Look, I mean, it's just the way he's cutting off screens and the balance going into his jumpers. He does look a little bit more vintage like himself. Still defensively, he's slower. And that to me is going to be a huge factor if they play a Memphis in the second round. If they get Phoenix in the West Finals, he's going to have some really tough, important defensive assignments, particularly if they want to play Poole, Clay, Curry together. Klay Thompson's got to be the best defender of those 3, especially if Wiggins is off the floor, and that's where I'm still he's got to make a leap there, and that it may be asking too much. Still pretty fresh off these injuries, but generally going into the playoffs, what he just did, you got to be more encouraged than you were, like he said 2 weeks ago.
Anthony Slater on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game. Our 95.7 The Game insider does a phenomenal job for The Athletic, breaking down Warrior games, the best in the business, in my opinion. Anthony, you broke down a little bit of what happened last season between the Nuggets and the Warriors at Chase Center, and Draymond Green was involved in those games, and we saw the Warriors roll the Nuggets twice at Chase Center. One of the games, Steph Curry became the all-time leader in points in franchise history. The second game, we saw Murray get hurt and tear his ACL, but this year, no Draymond in all 4 matchups as the Nuggets won 3 of 4. How does this matchup play out with Draymond Green back in the lineup? With Draymond back in the lineup against the Nuggets, assuming that Steph's going to be healthy and ready to go for Game 1?
Yeah, so I wasn't partying in New Orleans last night, so I actually had a chance to cut up a bunch of, Nuggets Warriors.
It was awesome. I stayed up till midnight. I shouldn't have, but I stayed up till midnight looking at your stuff.
Yeah. I'll have like a bigger preview out probably some point today, but you mentioned no Draymond Green in all 4 matches, which somewhat kind of nullifies him. But I think the Warriors, and this reminds me last year I covered the Suns in the playoffs, and Denver won the first round. They beat Portland, and then they went into the second round. No Murray. Porter was there, but he wasn't playing that well. They had just got Gordon. But Phoenix was able to play Jokic one-on-one because DeAndre Ayton, could hold up good enough. It's not right. He didn't shut Jokic down. Jokic still got his numbers, but because you could guard him one-on-one in the post, the other defenders could mostly stay home. And Denver, without Jamal Murray, just doesn't have enough creators. I mean, there's a reason Jokic is going to win MVP out of the 60. His supporting cast isn't very good. And I think because Looney, should be able to survive without needing constant double teams, and Draymond in particular, when they go small, they speed it up. They can exploit Denver on the other end. If Draymond can just, basically bat 50-50 with Jokic in post-up, which he should be able to do, then you don't have to double a bunch, and then he can't really do his whole pick you completely apart type offense. And I just don't think the others are good enough. So that's where I guess you would say the advantage for the Warriors should be.
Is there any concern about Steph returning for the whole series? Do you think that that's probable? Do you think he misses a couple of games? I mean, we have no insights, so I don't know if you have any insights whatsoever, or if there's something that you're feeling or something that you're hearing on Steph Curry.
Yeah, what they've put out there is accurate, which is like we'll see this week. They're going to finally get him on the court this upcoming week, and they do have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They should be able to get good practices in. They said they're going to have a full scrimmage at some point in there, and if he's feeling good enough off Tuesday's practice, if he's able to get through it without enough soreness and goes through a full scrimmage and feels good enough, then he should be able to play game 1. I mean, they're certainly keeping that on the table, but there's also a gamesmanship aspect, and there's also a cautiousness aspect to the way Rick Celebrini's operated all season. So my guess would be it won't be official until Friday at the earliest, maybe even Saturday. I could even see them putting a questionable tag on him.
Well, can they beat the Nuggets without Curry? Let's say he doesn't play at all in the series for whatever reason. Can they beat the Nuggets without him?
I mean, it probably turns into somewhat of a toss-up. Can they? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Denver doesn't have 2 max guys. That cannot be understated. Jokic has dragged them to this point. So the way the Warriors have caught a rhythm, if Clay remains hot, if Poole looks like, Steph Curry, Diet Coke, whatever you want to call him lately, they can, but obviously it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
Now, there's no expectation that they won't have Steph Curry for the entire series. I mean, they spread out that first round series. We haven't got the full schedule yet.
Right.
Usually, it's like game 1, 2 days off, game 2, 2 days off. They really spread it out. So maybe you miss Curry in game 1, but I wouldn't expect them to have to go the full thing without him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Anthony Slater on the Morning Roast. And, surprisingly, after the Warriors have won 5 in a row, and look, they beat Sacramento and the Lakers, and this kind of fool's gold, the Spurs and the Pelicans. We saw the lineup last night. A lot of people are feeling confident that the Warriors can beat the Nuggets without Steph and Curry, but the Nuggets are deep. They got a lot of guys that play a lot. They play really well around Jokic, man. He elevates their games. Bones Highland, Will Barton, the Greens, JaMychal Green, Jeff Green. Bryn Forbes is back, who's a damn good three-point shooter. And then you get the wild card in the X Factor, Aaron Gordon. It feels like he's a barometer without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Would you agree with that? Because if he doesn't play well, it feels like the Nuggets really struggle because he is one of their more athletic players. If he does play well, it feels like the Nuggets roll.
Yeah, and he was not good in that Phoenix series last year that I mentioned, and Phoenix swept them. And I thought that was a major factor. He's their most versatile defender, so he's going to matter. At times they'll probably shift to Clay, and he can even upsize, and maybe they'll try to have him, when the Warriors go small, maybe if Draymond's running a bunch of point forward and high screen action, Gordon will probably be trying to get himself in that. So, yeah, how he plays is important. You mentioned Will Barton. He's like historically got, kind of killed the Warriors,
he
right?
Does.
No, not kind of.
He's a Warriors
has
killer.
killed the Warriors.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, he's probably got a 33-point night somewhere in there, maybe win a game in Denver or something like that. Bones Highland had a really good second half. You mentioned him. But, again, it's like I'm talking about, like, random fringe guys that can get hot. They don't have the second star. The reason this Nuggets team became a contender in the bubble was Jamal Murray went ballistic. I mean, he looked like a top 10 type player when he was scoring 50 twice in a first-round series against the Jazz, and he was awesome against the Clippers. Remember when they came back against the Clippers? Yeah. I mean, it's such a forgettable playoffs because it was played in a Disney gym in Orlando. But
came back from 3-1.
Yeah, they actually were, I believe.
Twice.
They got
Twice. They did against the Utah Jazz and the Clippers.
Yeah, and then they got to Game 6 against that Lakers team. They nearly made the finals, but that was because Jamal Murray was so good. And to pair with Jokic, and he just doesn't have that. And look, they could, I guess, push the Warriors. If the Warriors don't play well, they're vulnerable. They're especially because I think Mike Malone is a good coach, and they're going to kind of, I think, coach in a desperate way. Remember when he hacked Looney late, and that changed the game?
Will they hack Wiggins? Because I think this postseason for Andrew Wiggins is huge. Huge. He's a guy a lot of people talk about, hey, maybe the Warriors will shop him in the offseason with 1 year left on his deal. And Jonathan Kuminga is sending. He looks like he's going to be ready to play a lot more minutes next season. Andrew Wiggins, I feel like I'm not going to say he's the X factor, but man, it feels like it's a massive postseason for Wiggs. And to your point, it feels like Mike Malone will say, you know what, I'll hack Wiggins too because he doesn't shoot free throws well.
Yeah, I mean, to your question, I think everything's on the table for Mike Malone, particularly if they get down in the series, right? I mean, he should and probably will coach with, desperation. He'll probably change up his defenses. If Curry's hot, they'll probably be, double teams, try to get it out of his hands. To your Wiggins point, it's become, in my opinion, like he's become less of an X factor the more Jordan Poole has emerged. Because now you have Andre Iguodala back, and you have the ability, if Wiggins is just like not there that night, and that's been somewhat common lately, you can just go to the 3-guard, Clay, Poole, Curry, have Andre on the floor. If it's a big game, have Looney on the floor. Draymond will obviously be out there. Porter can play in a stretch lineup. Kuminga, it's probably wise to try to find him some playoff minutes, just not only for the present but for the future. So Andrew Wiggins, if he's playing well, should be one of their starting 5 and closing 5. But at least now I think you can understand if Steve Kerr says, Wiggins, you don't have it tonight, you're not closing. Because there are a lot more, there are a lot better options, including particularly Poole in a 3-guard lineup. So he's not as important as maybe the salary would tell you he is.
Well, where do you think he's at right now? Like in terms of just his style of play, and let's say he is one of the guys that gets sat down late in games and it becomes a trend. Do they lose him, I guess, is where I'm going at with that one.
Yeah, I don't expect him to be pouting in the locker room or tossing a Gatorade.
No, but he's delicate emotionally, it feels like.
He, to me, seems like he got a little beat up over the season. He sat yesterday with back tightness. So they obviously saw hey, he kind of needs a day off. We'll see. I mean, look, he gets paid extremely well. This is the best chance by far in his career that he's ever had to say, hey, I can win in the NBA. I think if he can get the winner tag, he doesn't have to score 25 a night in the playoffs, but if he can just play good winning basketball, have games where he hits big threes, guards well, and if they can win the West, win a title, to me, that changes his reputation as, he already somewhat did this season with getting the All-Star nod, but if he wins, if he's a winner, that's huge. And then, he's coming up on a contract in about, 13 months, 14 months, something like that. But he'll have to kind of accept that role. I don't expect, like you said, I don't expect him to ruffle feathers. Maybe he sinks a little bit into the background if he's suddenly not playing as big a role. But it's playoff time. I mean, got to make the decisions.
Yeah, no doubt. Anthony Slater here on the Morning Roast will be covering the Warriors. Been doing a great job covering the Warriors since 2017. Anthony, before we get you off, a quick answer here, but where's this going to end up for the Golden State Warriors? Assuming that Steph Curry is going to be back and ready to roll, do they make the Western Conference Finals? Do they play in June in the finals? Do they end up playing the Memphis Grizzlies and bowing out in the second round? How's this playoff run going to end? How are you feeling this morning as you wake up and break down this series between the Warriors and the Nuggets?
Well, I'm feeling like they're going to get out of the first round, but I'm just not ready to predict that second round series. Ooh. I think it's going to come down to crunch time in Memphis in that second round. And I don't know who I'd pick at this point. The one thing I would say is the Warriors have not been that good of a crunch time team lately, and I'm being generous. I think they were like 1-9 in March in crunch games, and Phoenix is as good as anybody. So they've got to solve their late game issues if they're really going to get out of the West. We'll see if they do.
That Memphis Warriors series. Oh, that'd be juicy.
Yeah.
I heard Anthony's more worried about that Giants-Guardians series next week than he is about the Warriors.
Hey, I ain't worried about that. They can't hit the Guardians pitching staff.
They probably can't. The Guardians hit in Kansas City. They hit, man. How many runs they put up yesterday?
I do like the Guardian font, though.
Yeah.
The font looks cool. Don't like the logo, don't like the name, but the font on the Cleveland looks pretty cool.
They scored 17 yesterday against the Royals or something like that?
That's more than the Giants will score all month.
Yeah, probably.
Well, one run in the first 18 innings of the season, and then 17 over like the next 4 innings.
We have our AL Central correspondent, Anthony Slater, with us.
He's a big-time Cleveland Guardians fan. I can't believe it.
They should have been the Spiders.
Yeah.
Watch out for this kid, Stephen Kwan from Oregon State. He got like 9 hits this week.
He's a local guy.
Yeah.
Somebody just tweeted at us. Who tweeted at us maybe about an hour ago? Bless with Gabe. That's his name on Twitter.
Yes.
CG. He's putting up crazy numbers right now. I guess he's a local kid, huh?
No, I think Fremont, I heard.
Oh, yeah.
Freaky free.
Yeah. Lakeford just fist pump. Nice guy Steven over here fist pump. So the Guardians, AL Central, look out White Sox. We'll talk to you later, Anthony. Good stuff as always.
All right, fellas. See you.
Anthony Slater, 95.7 The Game Insider, breaks the game down, I think, better than anybody in this market when it comes to the Golden State Warriors.